many were healed now. You know this was not just a quick thing. This was not a quick... Late into the evening hours, he's still healing people, one after another, and you know that he's going to spend time with each one of them. You know he's going to have a word. Late into the hours, he's still healing people that night. And the...
Welcome back to Beyond the Pulpit here, live from Gilead Baptist Church in Fort Hall, the upper room. And we're so excited to be back with you again today. And our favorite subject that we're going to be dealing with once again, the Word of God. I love it. Love any time that we can open this just the precious Word. And we're recording these. It's in the morning when we record these, whether it's through the audio or through the television that you're able to take part in this. And was here early this morning and working on some things for the coming days, and once again, it's like every time you open the Word of God, it's if you're he says, "Blessed are they who hunger and thirst after righteousness." And those times whenever you're hungry and thirsting, it's like He'll feed you something new. And
that's right.
No matter how many times you've read it, studied it, looked at it, there'll be something that will come out. And so we're thankful for that, and we're glad to be here. So we're going to get right into our study this morning. We're here again with our young adult pastor, Brother Chris Brown, and our associate pastor, Brother Charles Whitson.
Oh man!
And these two men have been standing in a lot here lately because of the way services have fallen in this season. We just have a lot of different things happening and all that, and so we actually switched roles for a few Wednesday nights, and you went up to the adult service, and I went down to the young adult service, and
ran everybody off.
Yeah, both crews have left, so we're gonna pass and high five each other, and then go to the house because we're done. No, it's been good. Heard a lot of good things, and a lot of folks getting blessed, especially in the adult service. But anyway, Brother Whitson preached the last time that he was in the pulpit preaching. He went over into Luke 23, and then in Corinthians chapter 5. I think it was 1 Corinthians chapter 2 Corinthians chapter 5, and dealt with some things. And it's the last few times that you have stood, you have said in the days leading up to that, I'm preaching something I've never saw before, or I've never seen it this way, that's what we were just saying. Whether you're 49 or 94, God will show you things if you're hungering and thirsting after that.
Yeah.
Word of God. So
right.
we're grateful for that. We're going to get right into our study, and we're going to be in Mark chapter number 1, verse 29 through 34. We finished up. It took us quite a few episodes to get through 20 to 28, and that was a wonderful discussion time we had on that. And so we're now switching over to that 29 to 34. It is our desire to try to make it through these verses in this episode with you today. So let me read these with you, and then we'll get right on into what it says. This is Christ. He has just cast that demon out of the synagogue when he famously said in verse 25, "Hold thy peace and come out of him." And he tore that man, the demon did, and left out of the synagogue. And so we're leaving that church service. Remember, Mark, rapid pace. He's leaving that church service now, and he heads into verse 29, and it says, "And forthwith, when they were come out of the synagogue, they entered into the house of Simon." Now I want to pause right there. You'll hear this repeatedly, the house, the house, the house, all throughout Mark, especially when they're in this area.
Capernaum.
When they're in Capernaum, you'll hear the house. Most of the time when you hear the house, that's Peter's house where he's going to. Yeah. So just wanted to kind of make mention of that. And he entered into the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Yeah. But Simon's wife's mother lay sick of a fever, and anon, that just means immediately, again, another word for immediately, and anon they tell him of her. And he came and he took her by the hand and lifted her up, and immediately the fever left her, and she ministered unto them. What an action-packed verse that is. We'll get into that in a little while. Verse number 32, and at even, when the sun did set, they brought unto him all that were diseased, and them that were possessed with devils, and all the city was gathered together at the door, and he healed many that were sick of divers disease, and cast out many devils, and suffered not the devils to speak, because they knew of him. What a clause to end that little section on that we're going to have to deal with. I was thinking before we started this, and as a matter of fact, I think I said on our group chat, I said, we'll start in 29 to 34. We'll probably, kind of buzz through that pretty quick. And then as I'm sitting here this morning in those morning hours looking over it, I'm like, Lord, I don't know that we'll make it through this section in one episode, because so much just kept coming out. So I want to kind of get right into it, and then I want to set a few things up and then get your all's thoughts. Sure. If we can do that, because there's just so much to cover. So I want to look at kind of overarching real quick of these. What do we got here? 5 verses, 29 to 34. 5 verses. In 5 verses, 18 times we see the word "and." I mean, just look at that verse number 31. I said we'll come back to it. We'll study it, but I just want to look at it. Just look what happened. And he came, and he took her, and he lifted her, and immediately, and she ministered. I mean, one after another, 18 times in those 5 verses. Now, if you look at verses 1 through 15, 19 times we see the word "and." Sometimes it's a brother thing, James and John, but most of the time when you see that word "and" in this book, it's an action. It's continuing action. Yes. And then in verses 16 to 34, we see this massive number of 56 ands. That's where the ministry really, was really going. Overall, 75 times in this first chapter, we see the word "and." Now, let's say 10 of those are, talking about a combination of, James and John, or, something like that. But, I mean, we're talking 60, 65 times that it's talking about continued action, one after another. It's amazing how this book lays out. And I want to lay it out this way. If you're sitting at a red light, a lot of traffic. We have a lot of traffic in the Knoxville area now. It's like we've become like little Atlanta. I mean, it's like Atlanta, Chattanooga, Knoxville. I mean, it's like just a step down of traffic. But if you're sitting in traffic and you've got 20 cars deep at a red light, when the light turns green, you're not going to move for a little while, because that car's got to go. Right. Wait a little while, this car's going. So by the time it filters back to you through continued action, it's a little bit before you get to move. But then you always got those people that are honking the horns. But take a train car. You can have a train car of 250 cars together. And when that first car moves, they all move. That's what Mark seems like to me. This is not cars at an intersection where there's something happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. Mark is almost written like a train car. That this happens, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and all these things happen. And that's kind of what I get when I read these 5 verses.
This will be a really dumb throwaway comment, but with the traffic thing, they call that a retrograde wave. So in studying the way traffic works, you have these delays, and they say that traffic would move just fine if every car maintained the exact same spacing
one brake
all the time. That's exactly right. And then you'll have a bunch up of cars, and then more cars, or at a stoplight, you have one, then the next, and the next, and you can watch it like a flow. It'll space out and come back. With a train, you've got microscopic space in the links, and that's just it. And so
and hard connections that aren't movable or flexible. I
mean, knowing what little I know about trains, but having lived in a railroad town, these guys will talk about they have to stretch out the train. Meaning, if you got 300 cars, there might be some space. Cumulative space from front to back, but it's very small. And once that thing gets moving, it'll just keep on moving. And you're right, the connections, if you will, the couplings, those ands, one after another, and you just get this momentum going in this book that's just fantastic.
And it seems like that this is not like an old steam engine where it's got to build up. I mean, this is almost like those new bullet trains in Japan that it just took off. I mean, there was no let's get this thing ready. Mark just takes out of the gate.
Well,
running.
if you want to compare it to a race, this is not a standing start. This is a running start, right?
Yeah.
They get some warm up laps, and then he drops the
Go
flag.
ahead,
and away
Brother
they
Wiz.
go.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, in this case, it is continuous action. Jesus helping individuals, some healing some, casting out devils from some.
Yep.
And really, isn't it that way today for those who are willing to receive His help? It's a continuous thing that He works with you and in you to develop you into what you should be.
Yeah.
You know.
The one he didn't help was the demon.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, He
so-
helped him too in one way.
He threw him off the train.
He threw him off the train. Help the man, but the demon wasn't happy.
He was a
about
stowaway that got thrown off the train.
He isn't happy today either.
it. No, that's
I
exactly
guess
right.
I guess it still holds true because the stowaway ain't stopping the train. They just get thrown off
Yeah.
the train. This demon didn't stop it; just threw it off.
That's exactly right.
Those demons. So let's look at this idea. Kind of sticking with this. We got a few minutes here before we take a short commercial break. Dealing with this, a pastor, former pastor, current associate pastor, former pastor, current young adult pastor. So we have a little bit of knowledge in what I'm about to talk about, and then we've got another pastor of 23 years, I guess now or so, sitting here with us in the studio. Let's equate this to pastoring for a moment. Maybe there's a few out there watching today, and let's equate this, what we're talking about, to the pastoring. I was looking this up, and I thought this was very interesting. And I've always said this, that the pulpit ministry is a small portion of pastoring.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Now, you get these young men out there that's in seminary, and they want a pulpit. They want to be the one calling the shots.
Yeah.
That's such a small portion of it. And I started doing some research, trying to find. I mean, it's hard to find statistics in the spiritual world because things. I mean, you can get those Barna reports and Pew Research things and all that. How accurate they are, you don't know. I mean,
Right.
you can hear everything from 8% of the world, claims the blood of Jesus Christ, and all the way up to 22%, things like that. But here's the best I could come up with. If you take the pastoring and divide it into, we'll just say 95% roughly, because there's 5% of it that's, just miscellaneous things. The largest portion of the pastoring, the pastoring ministry is counseling. It's trying to counsel people who need help because it's nonstop. I mean, if you're a real pastor, there's some that aren't. Now, I mean, there's some, I guess we could call them hirelings, or the Bible calls them hirelings. That all they are worried about is just 3 times a week, give me a check, and I'm going to be on the golf course
Right.
the rest of the week. That's not a pastor. So we're not dealing with those people. We're dealing with the ones who truly are pastoring, under shepherding that church. The largest percentage is the counseling. The next largest percentage, discipleship. Trying to keep people understanding, learning along the way. The next largest portion, administration. Running things, keeping the church functioning,
Yep.
making sure the bills are paid and people are in the right places doing the right things. The next portion down from that, outreach, making sure we're trying to get evangelizing and those things, missions work and all that. The next portion, I guess 2 portions of that are in kind of tied neck and neck with about 10 to 12%. One, visitation and crisis response, getting to the funeral home, the hospitals, doing weddings and all this other stuff. The next portion, pulpit ministry.
Yeah.
And when you put it in that perspective, the ministry never stops. You don't walk out of the pulpit
24/7.
you don't walk out on Sunday morning about, it's Baptist nap time.
Right.
Not when you're pastoring.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you don't get that luxury if you're sold out and bought in. It never ends. And Christ, He goes straight from this synagogue of casting out a demon. You would think that, hey, we're going to go sit and talk about this. Let's have a meeting. No, He walks in and
Yep.
immediately they're running to Him, and immediately they're saying, this one's sick, and immediately taking him to her, and immediately, it never ends. And is that not ministering?
Yeah, absolutely. I once heard an illustration about a daily newspaper. They said that, going back to your train analogy, they said that running a daily newspaper is like trying to fill a moving train. It's always moving. But I've often thought of the ministry to being that way. You're trying to operate a moving train and keep it maintained and filled and tendered and all of those things that have to happen, but the train's not stopping.
It's a hard thing. We're going to take just a short break. I want to get Brother Whitson's thoughts on this, and I don't want to have him rush because he's got a wealth of wisdom and knowledge in this, and we want to come back. We want to deal with that. We got a few more things we'll deal with, so we're going to get Brother Whitson's thoughts on that. Join us on the other side of this short commercial break.
In the heart of East Knox County, in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, and just minutes from Interstate 40, there's a place where faith, family, and love come together. Gilead Baptist Church is a place to get involved, or come and learn and worship, a place where faith and old-fashioned values meet. Gilead is not just another church, it's a place to call home. Visit us at Gilead Baptist Church this Sunday, or find out more at gileadbaptistchurch.org.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Beyond the Pulpit. We've been dealing with this idea of the ministry being that nonstop, that as you were just saying, you're trying to fill that train as it's moving. And I really want to get to Brother Whitson, and I would like to have been able to talk with Dad in this episode as well. My dad, he's here as well. But give us your thoughts on that. You've got the most experience in this room.
Well, I don't know about that. The word poimen in the Greek New Testament appears in there 17 times as shepherd or sheepfold or something like that. The 18th time, and the only time it's translated, pastor. So the pastor is a shepherd.
Yeah.
And a shepherd's work begins really in the early mornings, really through the night, gardening.
Never really
and
ends.
all day long, and then into the night. And that is the way with our work as a pastor. It's 24/7, and phone calls in the middle hours of the nights and various things, taking care of the sheep. And of course, we feed the sheep, we protect the sheep, we try to guide the sheep, not goats, but sheep.
What about the wolves? What do we do with those?
Well, we have to take care of the wolves, but
we allowed to shoot them?
yeah, it is a full-time job, and there are blessings in it.
Absolutely.
Well, how do you ever how do you unplug? How do you go enjoy vacation or time with your family?
You don't. It's always up here. And I knew a pastor who people complained that he was kind of silent and reserved, and he was always in control and in contact with various things in his mind, and I was a little that way, I guess.
I think I'm out of my mind from what I hear from people.
Yeah. And part of the reason is, and you've experienced this since you've been here, you can go on vacation and you still get the phone calls.
Oh.
You still, and even if
I'm 4 for 4 right now.
But isn't it
4 vacations in 4 years, and all 4 times right before it's something falls apart.
Isn't it funny though that you would be just as concerned if the phone didn't ring? You would still be as prayerful and as concerned if the phone didn't ring for days on end. You'd think, what in the world is going on? What's happening? Yeah. And it's because
why is nobody having a problem? Why is nobody calling?
Right, and it's because you've got that burden. But you were talking about the sheep, and something that came to mind. A shepherd not only has to work 24 hours a day on the care of those sheep, but he also has to tend to sheep that are pediatric to geriatric. Yeah. And they have different needs. You have to start with a little one that you might have to carry a while, and you have to nurture them through. And then if you look at the flock of any local church, you're going to have that pediatric group, right? You're going to have the parents of the pediatric group. You're going to have the adults. You're going to have the grandparents. You're going to have the older folks that might need some extra care, might have some extra needs, and your knowledge is important and your care is important across that entire spectrum.
I don't mean to smile while you're saying
always up here,
but I was sitting here thinking, And it doesn't matter whether you're dealing with, because we just had a long bout with my mama. She was dealing with some health issues recently, but we've also just raised a child, which she's getting ready to graduate high school, but we're not far removed from that. And what's funny is when both of them were needing help and nourishment, you know what doctors said to give both of them? Pedialyte.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
what the young needs
Yep, the
and what the
nourishment.
old needs.
That's exactly
and
right.
whatever nourishment they need is going to, we don't have to come up with something different for both.
Yeah.
We get it from all the
Yep.
same
Yeah.
location,
That's
which is
exactly
interesting.
But the shepherd would have a life also in this analogy we're having here. And that is difficult for him to have.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because there may be a lamb out there that has been sick and he's doctored that lamb, but even though he leaves the lamb out maybe in the fold with the others, he's still, how is he doing? And that is same with being a pastor. I have gone home and tried to sleep, and you have things on your mind dealing with the sheep.
It's a tough thing to deal with, but here we are, and Christ is doing this in Mark. It's one after another. He's not slowed down. In fact, we've said it on the front end that Mark depicts Christ humanity being tired, being weary, being asleep in the boat. More than any other book, Mark describes that, and I think that it is a good book for those in ministry. Whether you are the pastor or whether you are, the layman of the church that is just, weary from, I've been at work all day and it's hard to get to church, or, a long weekend and I don't know if I can get, that weariness, that affects everybody. But again, that train can't stop. You got to jump off to do that. And so we see that here.
In those 5 verses, one word would kind of describe him: busy.
Yeah, he's very busy.
Busy.
18 times, matter of fact, and. So we get to,
And yet,
And yes,
and yet,
the Lord still stepped aside to rest every once in a while.
oh yeah, we'll see that in the
he's a part
in the next one, in those next set of verses. So he comes back. He comes after this fantastic service, casting out a demon. People were they were astonished. They were amazed. They've never seen or heard anything like this. He's proving that you've got to be comfortable not having me time. Everybody knows it's one of those phrases I hate. So he doesn't have me time. He leaves from that, goes to Peter's house. And archaeology, isn't it wonderful that there's not been one archaeological discovery that has disproven or discredited the scripture,
Right.
or even a slight difference. Everything has been right in line. Not that we use archaeology to prove the Bible, but they actually uncovered what they believed to be the synagogue there in Capernaum, and right next to it, guess what was right next to it? A house. There was a house next to it with many doors around it that led to like an interior gathering room. And this is where they believe that all this took place, Peter's house there next to the synagogue. And there they bring his mother, who was sick with a fever. A relatively small problem. He's casting out demons. He's healing. He's going to heal a leprous man. Dead are getting up. Lame are walking. And here's a lady with a fever, and yet they still bring that problem to Christ. And it goes back to us. It goes back to show us again. There's no problem too small.
Yep.
There's no problem too big. And as one evangelist has said many times. If you're worried about your problem being too big or too small for God, don't worry. They're all small to Him.
Yep.
So might as well take it to Him anyway. And here they took them problem.
This. Sometimes I try to think about the lesser characters in the story. Imagine this woman, right? The mother-in-law. She's sick and she's got dinner to put on. The disciples, Jesus, are coming over. I've got dinner to put on. Here I am sick. The Lord heals her, and what does she do? She gets right back to work.
yeah.
So it's not just
Great transition.
her. It's not just the Lord, although He's clearly the busiest and the centerpiece. But any of us who are trying to serve Him, right? Any of us who are trying to do the work of God, you're going to find that if you really involve yourself in the work of the Lord, you're going to find that busy too. You're going to see that, you're going to go from work to, quick changing your clothes to head off to a Wednesday night prayer meeting, or you're going to find that, you might be, looking forward to a Saturday afternoon nap, or and all of a sudden something else happens, or whatever it is. You're going to find yourself not to the same level of the Lord, and not necessarily to the same level, of course, as the pastor of the church, but you're going to find yourself, busy as well. And I don't think that's a bad thing. When you consider that even in the book of Genesis, when before there was sin, when God created Adam, he gave him work to do.
Work.
Right? I don't think work's a bad thing. And I don't know. She caught my eye.
In that, and that's really where I wanted to go to next. In Luke 22, 32, Jesus is telling Peter that famous exchange, do you love me, do you love me, do you love me? I don't want to deal with that, but he says at the end of all that going back and forth that, Peter, you're going to deny me. I'm not going to deny you, Peter. He said, yeah, you're going to deny me. He said, but I've prayed for you that your faith would fail not. And when you are converted, or when you have come out of that trouble that you're going to be in, go and restore the brethren. Mm-hmm. This is what this lady, we see with her. She was in a time where she was sick. Some people get sick in sin, backslidden, they get to where they're almost ineffective at times. Yep. But when you are restored,
yes,
get back to work. Mm-hmm. Don't lay there and wallow in. Some people, we were talking about it last night, some people just love being in misery.
Yeah.
They'll complain about because they're getting ready to get sick. They complain because they're sick. And then they'll complain on the other side of it that they were sick. And just about the time they're ready to get better again, I think I'm getting sick again.
Yeah.
Mary and Martha.
Yeah, it's at some point, you got to say, hey, let's get up. Let's go restore somebody else for a minute. Take the focus off us. Even though you were just laying there with a fever, which is a death sentence in this age, let's get up and get back to work. Yep. We don't have that kind of time. So there's some more that I want to cover out of this. We're running short on a little time. So give me some thoughts on this. I mean, just these first couple verses of this 29 to 34. I mean, dealing with the ministry, whether you're a pastor, whether you're the person who's just coming to church and trying to do the very best you can. It doesn't stop.
No, and I'll say that if you think about who the pastor is, you think about the person who's just become a Christian, they've just been born again, or they've been in the pew a while, or maybe they grew up in church and they've been there a while. You realize we're all human, right? And so the level, and I'm not saying that becoming the pastor is about tenure. No, it's a calling, but the level of service that you put forth in the church, in the ministry for the Lord, that is a direct relation of your level of commitment and growth in the Lord.
Absolutely.
And all of us need to be involved, whether our ability is to go into the synagogue and minister, or our ability is to fix a meal afterwards.
Absolutely. We're going to pick up right here when we come back in the next episode, and we'll join in with you. Thank you for joining us here on Beyond the Pulpit. Till we're together again, keep those Bibles open and keep reading.
Thank you for joining us today on Beyond the Pulpit, a ministry of Gilead Baptist Church. You can find out more about the church and listen to full-length sermons through our sermon audio link at gileadbaptistchurch.org. We invite you to join us each Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for Sunday Bible study for all ages, 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. for worship services, and Wednesday nights, our midweek service for adults, young adults, and youth at 6 p.m.